I've just noticed I'm really bright in the camera today. My head
Glowing,
shining.
Lil. You're
I'm
healthy
glowing.
and glowing.
No, I think it's just a shiny head. Yeah, that doesn't make anybody sense who's listening to it and not watching it. But hello, another Q&A session. Cool. Had a good week this week then?
Very good week. Hit my 5K, Will.
Yeah. And what was the was it 100 kilo squat as well?
No, I haven't hit that yet. That's my other New Year's resolution.
Other New
I'm
Year's
at 90. I'm
At
at 90, so I'm not far off that one. But yeah, hit my 5 kilometer run. First time since my ankle injury that I've managed to run a 5K. So
How's the
sorry
ankle
to
doing?
everyone. Do you know what? After a bit of icing and some strong anti-inflammatories, all right, better than I thought. So yeah, just apologies to everyone that had to watch me cry with happiness in the gym.
That reminds me of another question that I was asked as well.
Oh, go on. We'll start with that one. Kick us off, Will.
With regards to icing.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's to do with icing, and now what had they done? There's an injury, and they've been told by their doctor to ice it and put ice on it every night. And actually, so that kind of comes with the is it rice?
Yeah.
So rest, ice,
compression,
and elevate.
elevation.
And that comes from and it comes from that's from the 1970s. I was reading up on this because the advice is, although it was universally accepted, it's not as universally accepted anymore because they've
I said this because I was driving back from the gym. I was on the phone to my partner. I said, "Oh, I don't know. I might go home and put some ice on it, but then that's not recommended anymore." He was going, "Yeah, it is." And I'm like, "I'm sure it's not, because I'm sure me and Will have had a conversation about this already when I originally hurt my ankle, or did something else, injured my. It sounds about right, me injuring myself, but yeah, I'm sure we've had a conversation about it before. And I remember thinking, I'm sure icing isn't actually recommended anymore. Either way, it felt better for it, so I went with it.
So what it can do initially, with icing, if you've got an initial sprain or something like that, the initial advice is you could ice it to immediately to kind of reduce any swelling and things like that. But long-term icing can actually increase the amount of time it takes to recover. So, and the reason for that is you've got to think that the inflammation, we need materials there to kind of help repair. If you ice an area, it causes the blood vessels to constrict, and you're not going to be getting oxygen, blood flow, and all the nutrients to the area. So if you ice something, you're reducing the amount of materials that needs to recover, and therefore prolonging your recovery time. So the actual advice is there are two other acronyms, and I can't remember the kind of what they are, but protect it. So if you've got so for example an ankle sprain, protect it. So wearing an ankle support when you kind of using it. Movement is one of the key things. So move it as soon as it's able to be moved. Try and use it and move it, but obviously within reason. You've got to be conscious of any pain and things like that. Compression, but not too tight. So compression will help, especially at night. So if you've got an ankle sprain, compression socks, something like that, at night to try and keep the fluid retention under control, and again elevate it when you're resting. So it's kind of protect, move. And I can't remember. It's something like peace and love or something like that. I can't remember exactly. So there's lots more things in there, but the main thing is use it, move it, protect it while you're using it as well. So maybe wearing. So if you've got a knee strain, wearing a knee support, ankle sprain, ankle support, wrist sprain, wrist support. Elevate it when you're not using it. Compression when you're not using it, just to try and keep the fluid retention under control. But icing it is not necessarily the best thing to do. And actually, when I read into it, it's things like anti-inflammatories as well. Only use them sparingly.
Yeah.
If it starts,
they took the edge off.
yeah, exactly. And my kind of personal opinion is that when you are you know, if you've got a sprain or you've got an injury and it hurts, that pain is there for a reason. It's there to tell you,
Yeah.
don't move this too much. You know, if you have an anti-inflammatory or a painkiller, you're removing that signal. So when you're using it, you could be using it too much and
Yeah.
therefore injuring it again. So it's only used sparingly.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one because it does provide relief. Ice will provide relief,
Yeah.
but you know, at the
Yeah.
expense of recovery. So
I
yeah,
think that's the thing. Yeah. It's what you're using them for. I guess with mine, it's not like a new injury. You
yeah,
know, it's just that 18 months later it still swells up and it'll still hurt a little bit. So,
and it will.
you know,
It will.
yeah. And they've said like, oh, it will just swell for ages. So yeah, it just then meant I could still go to work the next day and walk. Which was quite nice to be able to do. But yeah, like you say, a lot as like a long term, you know, if you find that you've actually injured yourself and it's hurting long term, like you say, you need to listen to that signaling and maybe make sure you've had it looked at and there's nothing more there, like
And
to
this,
it, rather than like say mask it.
I mean, professional athletes do sometimes use things like ice baths and stuff
Yeah,
after a workout or a particularly grueling event, especially an endurance event. But again, it's used immediately afterwards to try and reduce any swelling. And there are some very slight improvements in recovery time. But, you know, for most people, it's not going to make much difference. If you're a professional athlete and it's, you know, it's improving things by 1 or 2%, that one
yeah,
or 2% could be the difference between a gold medal and a not medaling at all. Or
yeah,
if you are a footballer or a team sports player, then it could be the difference between your team winning and losing. But for most of us, everyday athletes, the the
it
benefit,
won't, yeah,
you know, the
minimal.
benefits don't really they don't really kind of amount to anything. So
Yeah,
yeah. So
absolutely.
if you injure yourself, ice it initially if it's going to help relieve the pain, but effectively it's move it, use it, protect it when you're using it, elevate it, and then painkillers sparingly.
Yeah,
There we go.
give it time to recover.
Yeah.
There you go.
Um,
Question one done.
question one done. Right. Next question. Question master.
Um, Supplements for bloating, are they worth it? So I guess there's many different things. Like I think there's so many different remedies for bloating out there, isn't it? Isn't there? I guess. And it's
Yeah. I
which
mean,
ones are any worth it?
you know, it's an individual thing. Personally, no. I don't think, you know, you've got to think about what the main thing is understanding what causes the bloating.
Yeah,
Um, and I think it's kind of prevention is better than cure. A lot of
yeah.
the a lot of these, especially things like greens, powders and stuff, they're just really, really overpriced multivitamins.
Yeah.
And they're pretty pointless and useless. And also, when you look at some of them and you read, they don't even give you the ingredients list properly.
I've not seen them
So
like to
greens
read
powders.
list.
Well, some of them, if you look at them and you can find the ingredients lists online, they'll say proprietary blend, which effectively means that you know it's a secret blend. They don't want to put their ingredients list on.
Right.
The other thing you've got to realize as well is that these things are not regulated. So they'll give you
Hmm.
this, yes, it might contain all of these vitamins and minerals, but then what they'll do, if they use proprietary blend, they'll use the cheapest ingredient will make up like 90% of it. And then you 32 vitamins and minerals that they claim to have in there are going to be in such small amounts that it's pointless.
Yeah.
So, you know, most of the things like that with bloating and things, they're not worth the money. They're
Mm.
overpriced supplements. The key thing to do is understand what causes it. So
Yeah.
there's lots and lots of stuff. So you've got the FODMAP protocol, which is fermentable carbohydrates, fermentable sugars. So I can't remember what the full acronym is off the top of my head, but you've got things like polysaccharides in there. You've got sugar alcohols. You've got uh, loads of kind of cruciferous vegetables as well. So things like broccoli, cauliflower,
Probably that word. Yeah.
and effectively what's happening with these foods is that they're going into your digestive system, and the bacteria in your digestive system, they either struggle to break them down or they ferment them. and that fermenting is releasing the gas, which is causing that bloating feeling. So you've got to try and think, when you feel bloated, think back to what you ate, and sort of see if there's a common theme there. So for a lot of people, common ones are things like onions and garlic. They're two
Yeah.
common ones. Your kind of cruciferous vegetables like your cauliflower, sprouts, broccoli, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But
All of those
also,
ones.
yeah, you know, the Christmas sprouts, there is a reason why they do really make you bloat and make you fart. But then you've also got things like sugar alcohols. So a common one is maltitol, and it's a sweetener. They use
Yeah.
it as a sweetener within things like sugar-free protein powders. Quite often have them, protein bars. So if you find that something like a protein powder or a protein bar causes you to bloat, then it's possibly, have a look for something like maltitol, sorbitol, xylitol. You notice they end with
Any of the olds. Yeah.
yeah. So those are sugar alcohols, and it might be that one of them, you know, if you're eating a couple of different brands of protein bars and they both do it, see if they've got a similar sugar alcohol, and then look for something that maybe has a different sweetener. So you might have something like stevia, which is a plant-based sweetener, and doesn't
Yeah.
cause as much bloating. But yeah, just think about the foods, and then also look at your fiber intake. So if you don't eat enough fiber, you could be bloated. But likewise, if you eat too much, you could be
Yes.
bloating. And then there are other things as well. So for example, if you take creatine, that can sometimes cause bloating and some gastrointestinal distress.
Yeah.
So instead of stop taking that, because I wouldn't say stop taking it, maybe split the dose up. So if you're
Yeah.
taking, say, a high dose of that, and it could be anywhere between 5 and 10 grams, try doing 2.5 grams in the morning, or 2 in the evening, or even 5 in the morning, 5 in the evening, depending on how much you're taking. But yeah, I mean, in terms of actual bloating supplements, the best thing for it is look at your diet, balanced diet, um, veg, fiber, whole grains, lean proteins. It's the usual advice. Be
Yeah.
consistent with it. And then if you do bloat, have a look at what you're eating, because,
Yeah.
you know, bloating on occasion is perfectly normal. It could be that you have a lot of carbs. Let's say you eat a lot of bread. You know, instead of
Yeah.
having 2 slices of bread, you eat half a loaf. That is most likely going to cause you to bloat. Yeah. So it could be that. So, and the other thing you can take as well, you're probably better, instead of taking supplements, taking things that are fermented foods. So, you know, having a look at things like natural yogurts, or the kefir yogurt, some of your pickled vegetables, sauerkraut, pickled cabbage, things like kimchi is good as well. But looking at some of the fermented foods can help, but yogurt in particular is a good one. That can sometimes help alleviate the bloating. Not immediately. I don't think anything can do that immediately.
Yeah.
But you know, it's look at the diet and try and increase, maybe add some kind of fermented foods in there. Sourdough as well.
What about other things? Like, I think this is what helps me, but a part of me is like, oh, is it just you know, the effect that in my head it works, so it normally does. But if I am feeling a little bit uncomfortable after a meal, I always find like a peppermint tea will just settle me down. But I think some of that is more like you feel relaxed at the same time.
Yeah, there are. Peppermint tea can help with a bit of indigestion, and sometimes with that. And I think there is some limited evidence to
Yeah.
suggest that it can help some people, not everybody. And that's the other thing to remember as well, is that all of these supplements, they'll say, yeah, it will help you.
Yeah.
We all respond individually, so it's kind of finding the thing that works for you. And that's why I
Yeah.
say it's better to look at the cause of it and identify what's causing you to bloat, and
Absolutely.
addressing that, rather than thinking, right, let's look for the cure. Because
Yeah.
what works for one person, like you could say, yeah, peppermint tea helps settle
Peppermint tea,
stomach.
great, but
Yeah.
for other people,
Yeah,
yeah.
and things like ginger as well can help with that,
Yeah.
settle stomachs and a bit of indigestion. It might work for some people, might not work
Others,
for others.
yeah.
Yeah, so
But
it's
then it's the
kind of good.
same with diets in general, isn't it? You know, this is why a lot of those what I eat in a day
Oh,
posts a lot of influencers do are completely pointless, because you could eat exactly the same as them,
Yeah.
over a set amount of time, and actually you will still look completely different, or your body might not agree with some of those foods that they're having daily. You know, you'll react differently to them. And
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, we're all individual, and what works for one won't necessarily
Yeah,
work for
you've
anyone
got
else.
yeah, and you might be slightly lactose intolerant. So if you are
Yeah.
somebody who has a lot of dairy products and that's causing you to bloat, then perhaps reducing the amount of dairy
Yeah.
products you have. You might be, and this is rare, but you might be slightly wheat intolerant or gluten intolerant.
Yeah.
And again, it's not necessarily cutting the foods out, but maybe reducing them. I mean, there is a protocol called the elimination diet. I would never recommend people do this on their own. Always seek advice and help. But like the FODMAP diet, you just eliminate most foods and you go back to basics. So lean protein, so a simple protein like chicken, simple carbohydrates like white rice, white pasta, white bread, and then the basic veg, so stuff like carrots, cucumbers, and then break it right back down to basics. Eat like that for a week or two, see if the symptoms alleviate. They should do, because you're eating a very, very
You'd
simple
hope so.
basic diet,
Yeah.
and then you reintroduce stuff. But
Yeah.
it's something that you should always do under supervision. It's something that and I work with people who suffer with ulcerative colitis,
Yeah.
and there are certain foods that will trigger flare-ups with that and inflammation. So I've got a client at the moment under a dietitian, because I'm not qualified to necessarily tell them exactly what to do. So under a dietitian, they've been put under the elimination diet, and then the dietitian is kind of going, right, we can now start to introduce. So I can now give advice to her on, these are the sorts of foods that you should be safe with. Try them one at a time.
Yeah.
So she's got medical advice from a dietitian, and then I'm putting it into practice with her.
Yeah.
And again, speak to a nutritionist, speak to a dietitian, ideally registered dietitian if you're really struggling, and then a good nutritionist will be able to work alongside them to help you put it into practice. But yeah, it's find the cause. And
Yeah.
if you're not sure how to do you could do the FODMAP diet on your own. I can't remember, let me see if I can find it, what it's called. There's a protocol, FODMAP diet protocol. What's it called? There is a specific name, and I can't remember what the actual protocol is. It's not going to tell me on here. I'm going to have to read through it. Oh, I can't remember. I cannot remember. But yeah, there's a protocol. But if you look for FODMAP diet, it will give you, there's like a 3-step process. Elimination first of all, and then reintroduction.
Perfect.
Cool.
The next one, exercises. Are there any specific exercises to strengthen your lower back, or are full body workouts enough?
Oh, good question. Specific exercises to strengthen the lower back. Yes, there are.
Yeah.
There are specific exercises. So you've got things like extensions. So, a hyperextension where you really try and open up the lower back. The key thing is again, if you're suffering with lower back pain, it's then thinking it's not just the lower back. The reason you get lower back pain is that those muscles are compensating for other muscles.
Yeah.
And generally, with lower back pain, certainly in my experience working with clients, lower back pain is generally caused by the muscles compensating for weak glutes or underactive glutes, glutes that just aren't working effectively, or also weak hamstrings. But it's also sometimes caused by seating position. So if you're somebody who sits at a desk all the time, or you sat down a lot, could be that. It could be sleeping position. If you're, and again, if you sleep on your front, that can cause lower back pain, especially if you've got a big pillow and your head's elevated, or if you
Yeah.
sleep twisted as well, that can cause a bit of lower back pain. So it's looking at your sleeping position. Ideally, you want to be on your back or on your side with your legs one on top of the other, so they're not they're not kind of twisting your lower back. It takes a bit of practice with your sleep position. It really does. Look at also your pillow. Is your pillow too thick? Is it firm
Yeah.
enough? Is it, and is it supporting your head and neck? Because that pain can sometimes refer. So it's thinking about what could be the issue. So you can specifically target lower back strengthening. So like I say, hyperextensions, exercises where you brace your core as well. So things like deadlifts, squats, RDLs, those sorts of things. Pulling exercises as well to a certain degree. But I think most of it is kind of working all the muscles around it. So
Yeah.
squats are great because they work your glutes. Deadlifts, RDLs for working hamstrings and glutes. Looking at your seating position, and then also just moving around, and being mobile, I think. So yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I never program specific lower back exercises for people with lower back pain. I tend to look at full body movements, so compound movements like the RDLs, and then work on lightweight, getting them to focus on using the core, so learning to brace the core effectively.
Yeah.
The really simple way of doing that is put your hand on your abdomen, breathe out. So breathe in, so you push your tummy out, and then push against your hands with that. So you're using your hands as a cue to kind of tense your muscles.
Like push, yeah.
Yeah. So that's called bracing your core. And then practice that while you're doing the lift. So that protects your lower back as well. So yeah, there's really, it's just doing full body move, compound lifts, and learning how to brace.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, I think a lot of it, the time it is sometimes a lot around like a weak core, isn't it? That can really like the lower back as well. Is that?
And I think also this idea that when we say people have got a weak core, that's overplayed.
Yeah.
And people go, oh, I've not got a core. If you didn't have a core, you would literally not be able to stand upright. Everybody's got core muscles. Everybody has a core. And when they say, oh, I think I've got a weak core, they just don't know how to use it. They don't know how to brace.
Yeah.
And learning that, actually sort of practicing tensing your stomach muscles and bracing as though somebody's going to sucker punch you in the stomach, that is something to practice regularly, and then sitting upright. Actually, if you're sat at a desk, adjust your working station position so that you sit upright and you're not hunched over. Because if you're hunched over for an hour, 2, 3 hours at a time, your body can feel it. Yeah, you're gonna feel it. If I ask somebody to hold their arm out like that, 5 minutes, no problems. 10 minutes, it's going to start hurting.
Yeah.
2 hours, your shoulder's going to seize, and then you're not going to be able to put your arm down at all. So, think about with your lower back pain. Again, I think prevention is better than the cure. So look at what's causing it, and then to work the muscles around it. So work your glutes, squats, deadlifts, that sort of stuff. Work your hamstrings, work your quads. Practice bracing your core.
Perfect. Other ones we've had is I'm guessing someone that's very bored of having the same things to eat every single day, is other options for breakfast other than scrambled eggs or porridge.
Great options.
Yeah.
I mean, this is sort of, you and I are both, we've got loads of different ideas. I know your favorite is a smoothie.
We love a fruit smoothie for breakfast.
Yeah.
Every day. In our house, I will have that. We're very different. I will have a fruit smoothie. Other half every single day is a breakfast bagel, but very much like you, it's the same thing every single day, and I just don't really get bored of it. Whereas for you, it's overnight oats. I know, like the majority of the time is the breakfast. If you're going to guess what we'll have for breakfast, it'll be overnight oats.
Every weekday, overnight. But then you can I like overnight oats because you can change the flavor. I like the texture, but you can change what you put in to change the flavor. But your breakfast bagels are perfect. Bagel thins, or if you're bulking, normal bagels, just pack it with protein. There's nothing wrong with sticking, depending on what your goal is. If your goal's fat loss, lean protein. So things like your
Yeah.
low fat sausages, chicken sausages, lean pork,
Yeah.
bacon
Ours
medallions.
are, it's bagel thin.
Yeah,
The light cheese slices, I call it plastic cheese, but the
yeah.
light cheese slices, chicken
I call it
sausages,
plastic
bacon,
cheese as well.
two chicken sausages, two bacon medallions, and then the equivalent of what would be like one scrambled egg, but then not with like milk or anything like that.
Yeah,
Tiny little bit of like the lightest mayonnaise just to help it stick a little bit more and sit in the bagel is
yeah,
my top tip. And then a tiny little bit of ketchup as well, just to give it a bit of flavour. But
yeah,
I will make them. Well, I'll get them all. I'll grill them all as well. Get them all on the grill and meal prep like a whole week's worth in tin foil in the fridge. Um, and then they're just a really good like quick grab and go. But like you say, it's the same with your overnight oats, and you can change up the flavors of those. And then the same with smoothies. You don't have to have like the same fruit smoothie every day, but they don't take very long to make. And I think that's things to look at. But yeah, there's so many breakfast options. And if you look in your like recipes that you've got, or even in the ebooks, you've got loads of different
yeah. There is
options there
a
for breakfast.
breakfast. I was going to check that actually. I'm wondering if it's still up there. There is a breakfast ebook on my Instagram profile.
There
I'm
you go.
going to check to see. Yeah, sometimes this is what annoys me now about Instagram. When you click on a link, it'll ask you, "Do you really want to go to that link?" Yes, I do. In fact, I am going to. Oh, it's not up there. I am going to put that one back up. So there is going to be a breakfast recipe book, high protein breakfast recipes, and on there you've got things like your protein smoothies. You've got yogurt, Greek yogurt with protein
Yes.
powder in, fruit. Add a bit of honey and granola. There's the breakfast bagels. You can do a breakfast wrap, so you could get like a normal.
Yeah.
I've done breakfast burritos as well, so
Nice.
in advance, and you can put like loads of stuff in there. Like I've added a bit of mushrooms, some chopped tomatoes, bacon medallions, sausages, eggs. Stick it in there. What else have I done in there? I've got this. You could have just some basic toast with. There's nothing wrong with some basic sourdough toast for your carbs. Stick a bit of healthy fats in there with some avocado if you like it. Again, you could have whatever you want on there. A bit of smoked salmon. It's really kind of thinking, what do I like?
Yeah.
What's easy to prep? And yeah, just go with that. In fact, I'm going to log into that one now. How do I log in? I'm going to put that up now. It, it it is just kind of, yeah, thinking about what you like. I've done a baked. What have I done? I've done baked oats.
Baked
Like
toast.
baked
Yeah, that's
oats.
another really good one.
It's like
Or
having cake at breakfast.
yeah, that's a good one. The other one is like a breakfast bar that you make. Again, it's more like very porridge oats based, but like making up breakfast bars. They're a really good quick prep one.
Yeah.
You can make your own breakfast bars, and then again you can slice them up. You've got them then for the week, but you can change up the flavors in those as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
loads of different
What else have I done?
options.
Yeah, I've done loads of different things. I'm just going to see if I can find where the breakfast book is. Where is it? Where is it? High protein breakfast recipes. Let's stick that one up. So that is up there. There you go. There's a free that is now on my high protein breakfast recipes. That's now on my oh oh
There you go. If you listen to this, you'll know where to find the free
yes,
breakfast ebook.
it
Now
will be
you're
up there.
welcome.
It will be up there. I will make sure it's up there. It's just told me that the link's not working. But yeah, I'll make sure it's up there. But there's loads of different ones. I've done a breakfast casserole before as well, where you make it up
Nice.
with baked beans and well, not even baked beans, but sausage beans in there. Effectively, you could have whatever you want. I've had salad for breakfast with smoked salmon on there. It's a bit weird,
Amazing.
but it does, it does the job. So, oh,
I
bloody
think
hell,
you'll find like
bacon toast.
people tend to fall into two camps, don't they? Either like a sweet breakfast or a savoury
Yeah.
breakfast to get them going for the day.
Even if you like, so for example, um, if you like cereal,
Yeah,
have cereal, but instead of adding milk to it, make up a protein shake, a vanilla protein shake, pour that over
that's what I
the top.
tend to do. Yeah.
Or one of my favorites is and processed foods, and you shouldn't be eating these. But
No cereal, too much sugar.
it's things like it's things like kind of adding in was it Cocoa Pops and chocolate protein shake?
But what, it goes chocolatey enough, Will? Like what?
Well, no,
You
it
don't need
goes
it.
double chocolatey now. So
Well, there you go.
it's as simple as that. It's just stuff like that. It's just thinking,
Yeah,
oh, it's that recipe book. There you go. It's working on
yeah.
it. So you can just
With
sign up to it.
my favorite to have, there you go, free ebook, is actually the cereal milk flavored protein powder
Yeah,
as cereal milk, which sounds like it shouldn't work because it should already taste like cereal milk, but that's one of my favorites. Or white chocolate is another good one. Overly sweet, but yeah, it works. And like you say, if you're getting that protein in, you can always then just add like a bit of fruit on the side. So if you are having like that bowl of cereal or even something with toast, just to get some of your fruit or veg in there as well, whether you're having sweet or savoury, just to
absolutely.
add towards that 5 day as well, that bit of hit of fibre to start the day as well.
Absolutely. And there are loads and loads of things. I know it's difficult. Sometimes it's really difficult to kind of think of all of these things, and um think of ideas. But if you kind of go through it, or if you just have a little bit of a think about it, it's fairly straightforward to come up with these ideas. I'm just trying to make sure that my high protein, there's 9 breakfast ideas.
There you go. Over a week's worth if you want something different every day, but
Just trying to see where it is. 9 breakfast, I'm sure. So where is that page now? Do you know what? It's a nightmare trying to find these things.
technology will. It's
Oh, I hate
wonderful.
it. Wonderful when it works. It's wonderful when it works. Landing page settings. Jesus. I'm trying to think of other recipe ideas.
I think, well, like you say, I think sometimes we tend to overcomplicate it. But I think, yeah, by just having something that is quite a basic one, but that you can switch up quite easily, or that you really, really enjoy, just makes it easier to eat. You know, like for me, if someone told me that the best thing for like best nutritional breakfast was overnight oats, I'd probably cry if I thought of eating those every day because I cannot stand them. Whereas for other people, that'll be like for you, Will, that's the number one thing because, like you say, you can change it up so much.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's just finding, like you say, what works for you. Narrow it down first. You prefer sweet or savoury in the mornings. Some days it may change. Other ones are like waffles or like protein pancakes. They can be
Yeah.
another good one for
Oh,
like a
there we go.
weekend
Protein. Oh, that
breakfast.
was something. I'm sure that I'm trying to find what
Protein
they're
pancakes will
on
be
there.
in there, I think. They
Yeah, they
should
will.
probably be in there. Or like a waffle recipe. Had a good one that was like just got the silicone waffle mold, so it'd be very similar to the protein pancake recipe, but instead of putting it in the frying pan, put it in the oven, have them as waffles instead. So simple things like that, you can just mix it up and it will just ever so slightly change them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, loads of different options. There's no need to get bored, but that are still good nutritional options to start the day right for you.
There's lots and lots and lots and lots of them. Where the hell is that going? I'm gonna have to look at it. This is the problem with ADHD. You start getting fixated on something and then that's it. It's a
Right, we'll back
nightmare.
in to finish the Q&A.
It's a nightmare. It will send. It does. It sends an email to a link to you to download, and I can't remember what the actual download is. I need to make sure that it's working. It should do.
We'll
Fingers
test it.
crossed. But yeah, I will. I will test it and make sure it works. But yeah, it's there's loads of different options. So I think we've covered loads there. So you've got your protein porridge, you've got your scrambled
Yeah.
eggs, omelette. Oh, I've done with it. I know if you don't, it includes eggs, but I've done like breakfast boats. So you remember the taco bowls?
Yes. Yeah.
Get
I
those, and
remember them.
I've made
Yeah.
them up. I've made a breakfast muffins in terms of that's basically it is
Yeah.
scrambled egg muffin, so you can fill it with bacon and stuff and over those. You've got breakfast. I've done breakfast McMuffins, my versions of the McMuffins, okay, with sausage patties in there.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that sort of stuff. But think about, is it sweet? Is it savoury that you want? If you like either, then even better.
Really mix it
But
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is think about, is it something that you can make on the day or do you need to make in advance? Because again, that will determine what you can do.
Yeah, what do you prefer? Yeah. Have you got the time? Like for me, I think that's why I quite like the smoothies, because I know now the scales are out on the side, everything's ready to go. Bang it in, it's done in like 5 minutes, and while it's in the blender, I can be getting the rest of my lunch bits sorted to take into work. But
And that's why I do the overnight oats, because you can make them the night before.
grab it out the fridge, and it's done. So it's just whichever works for you. Do you want something you can literally grab and go, or have you got that little bit of time to make it fresh in the morning, or reheat, anything like that? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Next one is, how many workouts should we be doing per week?
So this is a tough one.
Difficult question.
This one, basically, you have to kind of meet yourself. It's the phrase, meet yourself where you're at. So if you are somebody who's currently doing no exercise whatsoever, then anything is going to be better. And you've got to kind of think what your goals are as well. So if your goal is purely fat loss, then any sort of movement is going to help with that. Obviously, I would always advocate for some form of strength training. I think anybody who is capable of strength training should be doing that. Doesn't necessarily mean you should be going to the gym. It could be some body weight stuff at home, doing some press ups, starting as an elevated press up against the wall, lowering the surface, working your way down, body weight squats, all sorts of things. There's lots of stuff that you can do resistance training wise at home with minimal equipment, or get in the gym, because obviously that's going to load you more and you might see your results faster. But if you're not doing any exercise, then doing 1 to 2 sessions a week you're going to see results. That's going to help with building muscle and maintaining that muscle mass during weight loss. But in terms of other general activity, just walk. I mean, look at how many steps you're doing. If you're only doing 2,000 steps a day, and we've said this before, aim for 3. If you're only doing,
and slowly increase that.
Slowly increase over time. But the mistake people make is thinking that they've got to do 5, 6, 7 workouts a week. And it's just not sustainable. If you're not used to doing that, you've got to change your routine to fit it in. And this comes back to the whole thing that's underpinning it all, is whatever you do to achieve your goal, you've got to be able to do 80-90% of to maintain it. So, there's no point sort of thinking, right, I'm going to be working 7 workouts 7 days a week to get to where I want to be, and then
stop.
Oh, we've got thumbs up here. And then stop, because the results aren't going to stick. So you've got to kind of think what's sustainable, and then build it into your routine. So whatever you're doing, we're trying to build healthy, sustainable routines and habits. And if working out 5 days a week just isn't going to fit in with your work and family and life in general, then what's the point in trying to do it? So if you've got, I can do 2 workouts a week, I can see where I can slot them in across my week, do that. And then I go, then I can do 10-15 minutes of a walk at lunchtime, or I can actually walk for 2 or 3 minutes every hour by walking around. I'm going to go to the kitchen to make myself a coffee or get myself a drink of water. I'm going to make sure I walk to the toilet every couple of hours, or I'm going to take the stairs to my office instead of the lift. It's this sort of stuff, and building that into your routine. And the more you do that, the more likely it's going to stick and the better the results. So this was asked by a new client, actually, somebody who they said, how many times do you think I need to work out? Do I need to go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week? And I went, well, how many times are you going now? He went, none. I said, let's start with 1 or 2 then.
And build up.
And this is one of the reasons why when I work with in-person clients, they have a fixed slot. And that's because it's a routine. It becomes part of their week. And then we look at saying, right, you're doing me once a week. Let's see if we can add another session in, pick a day. And then I'll program them that into the coaching app. So this is as well why we do the shaping up one. They have the days for the workouts. Okay, they might need to move them to different days for different people, but they're there because it's part of their routine.
The main routine is there, And the other thing I think to remember is hammering yourself 7 days a week, especially when you're like once you're quite, I guess, used to training consistently as well, it's a bit easier. But when you're newer to training, the rest is just as important as
Yeah,
the workouts, because your body does need that time to recover. Like you say, so that you're not
absolutely. Yeah.
pushing it too hard.
And recovery time, something that people don't, they really don't kind of take seriously enough. And you've got to, you know, so if your goal is muscle building, or if your goal is to improve your aerobic fitness, the exercise itself is causing strength training. Lifting weights is not what causes the muscle to grow. What that does is it stresses the muscle. It's causing micro tears in the muscle. What causes the muscle to grow is the rest and reparation time. So
Yeah,
resting, allowing the muscle to rest. And if you're doing like full body workouts 5 days a week, when's the muscle going to rest and repair?
yeah,
You're just permanently stressing it, and at some point it just gives up. So
yeah,
by overworking and overdoing it, you're actually causing more harm to a certain degree than good.
yeah,
So rest time's important. So that's why we say, you know at the programs that we write, you push, pull, split, for example. You work the front of the body in one workout, you then work the back of the body, and while the back of the body in the other workout is, or you do upper lower, so while you're working one part, that gives the other body part a chance to rest, and then you have a rest day, so they all rest, and then you go again.
yeah,
So that's the way to look at it. So yeah, don't work out every day. Once or twice a week is going to be enough. If you're not doing it, you can then increase from there. But anywhere between sort of 2 and maximum 5 workouts a week in terms of strength training. I do 5 sessions a week. I do exercise and activity in between.
yeah,
I'll do a mixture, but 5 strength sessions a workout. But I've been doing it for 8 years now, and
yeah,
built up that kind of, not tolerance, but I've built up the routine, and my body's got used to it so that it can rest and recover in between. But
yeah,
even then, and this is something else just to add on, is even then I will take deload weeks. So I'll go, right, I am not, I'm having a week where I'm either not going to the gym, which is very rare, or I'll say I'll do 3 workouts instead of 5, or I'll
yeah,
lift 50% instead of going for the maximum. Yeah.
yeah,
So build that rest in.
yeah, absolutely. And then final one, do I need to be worrying about carbs and fats when looking at tracking? So protein and calories are on track for where they are aiming for, but do we need to be worrying about carbs and fats as well?
I'll let you answer that one.
Not as much. With those ones, it's definitely more personal preference. So what you'll find when you do the program with us is that you'll be set your calorie range.
Yeah.
Rather than just one set number, it will be a range, because none of us eat exactly the same every single day, and your protein target to hit. That will be a number. Well, again, note a range of your protein, because that can vary from your calories as well. As long as they're there, your carbs and your fats, you can choose however you prefer to eat and what sits better with you in terms of your overall diet and your health as well. For some people, they will prefer a higher fat diet, and for other people, they'll prefer a higher carb diet. I'm definitely someone that sits more in the carbohydrates camp than the fats. It's important to still include your fats in your diet. They're obviously not something to be scared of. They're very important for our overall health. But yeah, ultimately, no, you don't need to worry about your numbers on them. You have the camps where you have like your absolute macro splits, and you have to have every single number completely spot on to fit within that circle. But it's just extra, it's just something else to think about that you don't need in a day. We've all got enough going on with our lives that we don't need to be worrying about every single little macro, how it's fitting in, and if we're hitting our numbers exactly. So yeah, protein is the one that's most important. So as long as you're within that calorie range and hitting your protein, the others you can eat whatever works for you.
Yeah, and I think you've got to look at your goals as well. So if you are
Yeah,
somebody who is going to be active and you're going to be working out, then absolutely you'll need your carbohydrates.
yeah.
And there'll be people who disagree with that. And I know if anybody ever listens to, if we put this as a snippet up, people going, "Oh no, you can function perfectly well on fats, on a high fat
I'll
diet."
add this up.
Like, no, you cannot. So, you know, eat your carbs. If you're going to be active, eat carbs. If you want to build muscle, eat carbs because they are protective. But again, you need to sort of say yes. So I would sort of say, actually, in terms of if you were really kind of trying to drill down into it, absolutely what you said was spot on. You know, if the goal's fat loss, calories are king first.
Yeah.
Get those under control first. If then it's protein, and we, like I say, we work within a range. Generally, there's a minimum goal that you should be hitting on average, and then you kind of try and stay within a range which makes it optimal. But then your fats, ideally, you want to be making sure that you have at least 15% of your calories from fats. But if you want a specific number, take your body weight in kilos and aim for at least half your body weight in kilos in grams in fat. So if you're 80 kilograms, you need to be hitting at least 40 grams of fat per day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a minimum. I would sort of say 0.75. So if you were 80 kilos, then trying to hit optimally around 60 grams of fats per day. You know, some days will be lower, some days will be higher. It doesn't really matter. But on average, if you're hitting around sort of 40 to 60, especially if your goal's fat loss, that's fine. And then your carbohydrates, again, it's preference, but you know, ideally 2 grams per kilogram. So, you know, but that's if you're really trying to drill down. If you are starting out, why make things complicated? I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, it's bad enough for, you know, just trying to plan your meals to make sure that you're staying within calories and tracking. If you're starting, my advice is track your calories first. Make that you know, your priority. Make sure you're getting into the habit of tracking.
Yeah.
Once you've tracked for a week or two and you've got an idea of what you're eating, then look at your meals and go, right, oh, my protein's not very high. What can I do to increase my protein? So
Yeah.
stick a protein source in, and you might have to reduce your carbohydrate source or whatever, but stick your protein in. Then, right, let's have a look at that. So I've done that for a couple of weeks. Right, let's have a look. Oh, my fats are a little bit low. What can I do to add fats? It might be that you need to add in, you know, a few nuts and seeds, or maybe a little bit of unsaturated fat, so some olive oil in there, whatever. Or maybe have slightly higher fat. So it might be that, you know, oh, I'm on fat-free yogurt, but actually I could have 2%. Great,
Yeah.
have that. And play around with it. The key is don't stress about the little minutiae detail at the start. Start with the big stuff, build the habit up. Yes, it takes longer, but do you know what? It makes it so much easier and so much more sustainable if you focus on the long game.
Yeah. Absolutely. There you
Cool.
go. That is everything.
Nice. Brill. Is that all the questions done?
I believe so.
Brilliant. Oh, we'll finish it there. No, that's a good time. Good place to finish. I'm hungry. I need to eat.
There you go. And then sort out a free ebook, Will, that you've promised everyone.
I need to make sure that the settings, yeah, and I'll make sure the settings are up. You can click on the link. If you put you just need to put your email address name in, and then you'll get an email with the ebook. I don't spam people. You know, there is a monthly there is a monthly newsletter that comes out with some hints and tips. There's nothing salesy on there. I don't do sales, but it's free advice. You get a free recipe every month as well. So yeah, sign up to that. So you get 9 recipes plus a monthly advice email. Great
Amazing.
value for money. Great
It
value.
is. All for free.
All
What
for
more could you
free.
want?
I don't know quite how I make money on this job, I tell you. But no, cool. All right. You got a nice weekend planned, or you working?
I'm off this weekend and I cannot
Hey.
wait. I know, but it'll be training. I am gymming and swimming on Sunday because I've learned I need to get better at swimming before I
Okay.
do stupidly sign up for this triathlon in September. Yeah, so we're gymming and swimming. I'm out for lunch tomorrow for a friend's birthday, and yeah, just relaxing a little bit, which will be lovely.
Yeah, well, I've got triathlon a week on Sunday, so I actually need to
Yeah,
get in the pool because I
yeah.
haven't actually. I've done the cycling and running, not a problem. I need to practice the swimming because
I've been humbled. I got humbled in the pool last night, and it wasn't a very nice. My breaststroke is incredibly strong. My front crawl is dire.
yeah, that's what I'm
So
about. So I am going to get in the pool this weekend at some point. Yeah.
Amazing. There you
Cool.
go. Well, enjoy.
All right. We'll be back here next Friday. And yeah,
Yes.
Friday. Yes, I can do next Friday. And yeah, we will see you there. Right.
Yes,
Bye
I
for
will.
now.
Bye.